A lot of allegations were thrown against me. The same thing, hotel in Dubai. I said, prosecute me. Anybody who serves in public office should be prepared to be accountable. And that accountability must start with myself. President Akuffo himself said it.
On the 7th December, I'm a political parties outdoor. Campaign, now, former President John Dramani Mahama, on in Central for Dinkitahona, or in Zambia to die and what Chinabusha. And some French bano, ano edding. Quick one. You ever caught now for your room, not yet teen someone or the two that commander Bokodi. Yeah, right about away. Boko, former president. Yeah, John Dramani Mahama. Nin summer or the two dano. Yeah, say I'm on for Kenny Serenia Bassa. But quick one. Young room now for young quoting some of the two that. Oh, the rest of me know I see. Now you're in combo. Yeah, said the wild kind and the sapper penalty. Yeah, now former president Mama, when you're quiet, she answered for. Na nkasayemun ena odi sembi tudwa pa se ono former president Mama watin sema nkrofo ka se ono former president Mama no oye kromfo o se manfo ebreka so oye kromfo wa bokro no watise Ghana fo na kika se wa wie sika wa kosisi adan che se eniama wade na plane kura airbus wa wie plane o se mze 2016 ana 2012 eba 2016 no se no mu cheche mu se wakoto dan bi wo Dubai wakoto dan bi wo Dubai o hotel ho o se sansem ni nyina wate ena no achie bi mukura so ni sika onya no wo de fefa maya ena ni slave queens ni ade Ghana fo kasa o enya asem ketwa o se ni nyina wate wachire bebra ba na ni wo chirechirem de esi nyina je no no chirem sa ono ko de no ho ato so na adu nchinintum sa o ma pe mama se na adu nchinintum se no kwese sa nyama na kokko so a wajai na ho bie ne nkrata mbebia o se na nado nye dey the right of former president John Dramani Mahama say na nado enchinintum on chinintum se eyampa se niam amanfo kikan kan nyina no kra wa offer no ho for 7 years e twa mu nyina ono ade ne ho ko o so ono awo biem se o ono kra oniska na ne ho kire ne kakra wa yolumai wo tifie tiko mo che no no mo cha na japade no kakra wo no mo ama na ne de kakra wo no mo mfa ma na o mo mfa de aka no emmo man ne ho bra so wa twa ya na adu ntimi nche no okay beto wie no sensem ne nsi ho o se oba National Cathedral no krene nyame anim nie sa sika na de awuram ne ni sekom obaji sika no are wate o se National Cathedral no wa hu se amanfo obokwa asofofo bi kura wie sika ho sa anti wo wie sika ho bi aba fiscal no so be di man pani se kim wa jisika o National Cathedral no ho a oba fiscal no o se sika no na do ne ka so obesi na mama o kwa so ebe right also no ya Assemblies of God ni okay also no kroma so dan kura no kura tuesi na omo di si do ba be chinkrofo National Cathedral no oba be chinkrofo mu kosi asore dan a muntimi nkan je se do man sika wa bra na ado nko ase ono a ne besi nti oba chinkrofo na eno achi no eno se MPP for no ba chi bebra gum sa former president Mama se oba chi MPP for bebra to prison okay na ono a ne nkrofo no oba sa chi bia gum na manfo se former president Mama what did get the man penny that want you nkrofo mu mo se oba oba sa chi nkrofo no bia gum no se an oba chi nkrofo o se ebia se de uze bia data no swa okay ntebi okotena echi no na ese no uze se wanyini kakra ntebi na tifiri kwa animu eti wa hu se o adwen na sesa okay uze tama oteso no yeah masa ensema ne piepie firi na numba de na nyo timi kasa me yedwanfunu onsuro sekan e kan se bebre na Ghana fo se da bi ye ntimi ni mampani bi se ntina eno kwatena fie be ha adwen minim so okotena echi no amanfo tunufo se mi chese ade no champagne for si do twasa no onim se na chiatia ko gina achiri no no sem se kwan no baby a na nam no kwan na chia se mama de na two things o either se okotena achiri no wakosua ade bebre intimi 6 a oyeye no yeah o meye biem ana one thing so ne se obi wo ho a mistakes a oyeye no onsua hwefiri nti wo ba no o se baba be kumu nti two things either se oba be boa Ghana for yeah anaso oba be ku Ghana for but mostly no ayana obi abrante no osiso a enso he be totom no ayana se o san peja fofra osua de kakra frim die no na aye bibie ho okay
Okay. Team sending comedy no. Sana de ko na ogusu di nkomo no. Am say ehu bia bo no former president Mahama. Niam hyehin san hwa de youth ne ba ye mpanifo no ehu. Sa. Oso ohu Kenya de no. Am say assemble si Ghana. Say politicians no munyina nka mo. No man ye careful na oman kasa bokoboko kwan so na omusuban ne omo ne ye na omo kasa na ansesa Ghana for be strike omo. Kwan ya Ghana use the politicians be fa so Ghana no. Ebehu. Are oso na oso
na mama munye sure say o enti na so se won kasa bebre se 24 hour economy na no cheche mu on be so be shebo bebre o munye sure say the way o man is equal osuro Ghana for
ehu abo no osuro
and the way 2012 to 2016 the way Ghana for si etwie no osuro ntimi hwe aso on be so be she na kasa bebre o be shebo bebre ti se ba omi e shebo no
so sha ono wa gain experience ni Peter James o ye yi kaka na former president Mahama wan wie ho ono say economy ni de wan ka ho asema enye yi o say economy no abubu bibi anya adwuma
nto be ni ya
na economy ni so man ni be ya just ye ni ye nto make sure say niam ba kuma no bi e be ma dollar no agina no na mo so dollar no say na water mi na enyina no so na enye sei.
Okay, sir, answer down Kosa.
Say, or seen a yes,
over farm, I think
120.
20%. 1 city 20%. And all the call 4 cities. Into 4 cities in the Kufuado be found the call. I said that bed 15 is still so far.
And no say. They say baby I didn't do no. Say ye ka say ye be ye niema yi a. Just ye din kan make sure say dollar no e be gina. Say cedi na nyina. Bibi ene kwa ye be na. Taxes no so say IMF no. Secret bi wom. O say na na do de IMF no bibi say IMF for no say. Ye taxes no esua upon the year twa. Na taxes ni gina be 15% na IMF say so ye mpejam. And ya peja de akọ 17. IMF for still esua. By 2028, also taxes in way more than 24%.
Okay.
And they say taxes in there. Say IMF for had ya. Okay. The young na young former president Mahama.
Now one thing is Akuffo unim say emfa say commander ona odi president.
Yeah.
Ena wo official ena me maba. Say me ba ye no. Ena me betu tu bibia kama.
Yeah.
En so say sabre bi mu mpo. But say me ba na say ebi aniema wo ye no wa anye ni yie na me nso me ba na niema bebre ma be ye ni yie a wan hwe yie a amanfo be ka say oh e na amanfo be comparison no we wo hokra na ye what you say no e say Kufuado niema Kufuado kekan say Kufuado bai no enka oye ni nyina ka former president go sam ba biem
say ohwa eno na ama former president Mahama hodo because say nkasa ye mu no o kire say na nado abedi 8 years ono ni di 4 years o sisi dan bebre na dollar na nkosoro anuru say na ni ministers na nado de sa do so chen no na nado abobo se achi ntohwa sa niema no e na ma former president Mahama o ka nsamwi
Akuffo ankasa no the way Ghana for sinya trust e woni mu to aba massive
sana big
ema papa ya waguni pa ni mase
sana big say we are saying
wagu ni mase
Yesu ne na nado na oje omu di
di ese no uje mama on shedan kasa gidigidi sao because Ghana for no ebi munye comparison mu a omu say ebi at that time
of course
ndi ani na ye but quick one enko ne enti enya botre na yentie nsemu a odi tuga.
With regards to what is happening in Kenya, I don't think that we have to wait for the backlash of what the youth did in Kenya for us to do the things that we have to do. And that's why I started talking. I said, look, the time has come for us to act and that it can't be business as usual. The Kenyan youth have sent a signal to the whole of Africa that they will push back if the leaders don't do the right thing. And so definitely I'm signaling that it will not be business as usual in our new administration. We'll cut out waste, we'll cut out opulence, we'll bring a code of conduct for public sector, public appointees, especially political appointees, in how they behave in terms of their modesty, in terms of their humility. Your appointment to that office is an opportunity to serve. It's not an opportunity to lord it over the people. And so our political appointees and public office holders must change their attitudes. And so that is what we're going to insist on, that people that we appoint are modest people, they are humble, they will open up to the people, and they'll do the things that will make the lives of our young people better. And so we're going to hold them to a higher criteria of service than people have been held to in the past. And that's why I say, if you agree to serve, you must serve and not have other side businesses and do other things. You must not go and buy state property. Anybody serving in my government will not be allowed to buy a state asset. Nobody serving in my government will buy a state asset. Vehicles or cars or buildings or land or anything, nobody serving in our government will be allowed to buy a state asset. I am a Christian and I belong to the Assemblies of God Church. Ordinarily, building a house of God is something that we all do. I contributed monies in my local Assemblies of God branch to build our church. And it's created an environment for us to praise and worship our God. But I don't condone stealing in the name of God. And that is what has happened in the case of this National Cathedral. It is instructive that members of the Board of Trustees, some of the members of the Board of Trustees, have resigned, and they have called for a forensic audit of the National Cathedral. I'm not saying it. Members on the board believe that fraud has been perpetrated against the people of Ghana, and they are calling for a forensic audit. At the time this National Cathedral came up, it was somebody's personal commitment to God. And we are sure that public funds were not going to be used for the National Cathedral. Unfortunately, we hear that 300 and something million has gone into it. Where did those payments go? Were they justified? Who did they go to? These are all things that we have to unravel. And I think that that is the first thing we do before we even decide what to do with that huge pit. And so first, let's investigate and do a forensic audit. And if people have, illegally and unlawfully taking the monies of the people of Ghana, they must be made to refund those monies. And so that's the first thing I'll do with regards to the cathedral. Yeah, Titi Medase. I'm saying, question I will say, no, idea, may you know, will be baby. Meso me can say, idea, ye, say a buying eba na a chassis and impuntu juma, will be baby, be a market and a school and a hospital. We don't say a buying for bar. Na a chase, omu drink say, omu discussion one. Credit no ever call a binder than in chain. Into no more trade. Na omanka some wako share omudiase. Na meka se senyame ya adom ne ba sika ye wo ye de behwe saa empuntunjuma ne bebre aka a che se ye twegu na ye de sika hyemu ne etimi ewie saa ndjuma no ansa ne ya hyase ene foforo enti meka se district bia ye be inventory of all projects a che se aban aban ekọ ne nyina omagya egu ho na every year budget a ye be bia ye be yi sika egu nchen a say ye de be wie sen djuma no nti 4 years me wa ban mu a me president no afi bia ye de sika beto ho se ne be ya every district en djuma e wo ho a say ye ja atun room no ye de sika no e beto aso na ye wie ansane a sha ase ne foforo because so ko be bibria classroom block ye wie we be hu na assembly aka say oh ye sha ase ne classroom block foforo anka sika ye wono ye mfa wie na ye wie no ansa na ya ase ene foforo enti ano me no ye adwen say abandoned projects I was here hwe na ye na okaka ho ene taxes and levies ampa ohwe ade ba ko ama Ghana kane na ye say ye favorite destination for investment and it say na ye taxes ne levies e wo form kakra. And so I think so there, I'm saying, senya abayi ama the economy no, actually aseno. IMF programmer omuko mono. IMF a catcher omo say, yetwa yeje anasa revenue ye nyano. I was see ye pager could do 24%. Kane near 15%. Taxes are almost 2 years a pager ya about 17 point something percent. And so almost by 2028, I'll see you drew 24%. In the chest, Omunya ye, sa taxes now with the Gue, so no, and young Andrew Pempenswa, Yabeka say, Omoye. Ain't now person more VAT to electricity, so that was one of the reasons. And so, yes, to use more, I could see, and by now, electricity bill be a VAT at that so. Yankwani or mine are a woo ya see hangina a chese yare aba echo yeji eto efasa yare no COVID levy. COVID aba echo China baby COVID efrimpo yen ji omo COVID levy. And so Ghana kwani COVID levy. And it's an your man share emissions tax, any sad taxes nina a yet toa a buying edit 2 years so as a result of IMF agreement on my year. And you know because say oh me ba metra a tonumu. Wo are buying musis here, so bet me tonuma, chassis, nature a number to a tonumber from near whom. Men can say oh montoma mi answer me ba sa a toy me year free home. Enti Niaokano, Neno Krenono. One of the things I bear is say, you best streamline the VAT. Because Mentias here say, Obeko a jum na and croform yansa eton adie. Bakon a VAT 3%. Bakon ne VAT was rokakra. Bakon so VAT here 21%. Meanwhile, Omina the same customers. And he said, me ba ho na obeje me VAT 21% a meko ne obeje me 3% no. And he also streamlining so that traders will pay the same rate in terms of value added tax. I feel so port wa send your kind no Toyota Vitz. And then many good afoshiaye me fa an example of car bia obia import and na me kind levies and taxes also. About 23 levies and taxes. So what has a duty any san your manner? I know you will harmonize ECOWAS tariffs into duty no to mean. But the problem the levies and port charges are illegal. Enti me see we rationalize all those levies. Ye ni say wo hono ye be ye free ho. Say na be ya be ma to na ba from kakra. But the major thing I was saying is say we have to stabilize the currency. Because it will affect bia. One of the reasons Can Akuffo issue, and they said this week ubeko na currency no, yes, Bank of Ghana say currency no, exchange rate ni say. Into start one near Bejo port. The next week ubeko na CD a free ABR 14 about 15. Into start one now obetia in CDs no, na say a cost. Into one of the priorities of government will be to stabilize the currency and stabilize the economy. Senebeya obia asombejo no. Into MC Moya memano no. Universities. What are we going to do about tertiary educational institutions? There are many challenges there. One of them is that students don't have enough hostels to live. And so they have to go for private hostels. And the private hostels are expensive. And so one of our objectives in our manifesto will be to accelerate the building of hostels. And we're going to do that with private sector. The universities have lands. And so we can engage the private sector to build hostels, and we and them will agree on the fees that should be charged in the hostels. The government alone cannot build all the hostels to accommodate the students. But there are Ghanaians who have investable funds that they can use to provide hostels. If you go to the universities today, what they'll take you through in terms of eligibility to build a hostel, they want to see your bank balance, they want to see this, they want to see, so many things. It makes it difficult for the private sector to come in. But if we apportion some land in every university and say people who want to invest in hostels should apply. We'll go through the criteria fairly and transparently and allocate the lands for them to build so that our students can get accommodation. That will be one way of doing it. Aside from that, we'll uncap the GET fund. This government has capped the GET fund. And so any money that exceeds a certain statutory threshold goes into the consolidated fund. And so the GET fund is not receiving enough money. Apart from that, 60% of the GET fund has been collateralized with the Dachi bond. And so only 40% of a capped GET fund is available to continue projects. And so we'll uncap it and we'll liquefy the GET fund so that it's able to continue to do the work it's doing. To ease the pressure on students, we will enhance the student loan scheme. Recently, I heard the administrator of the student loan scheme say there's a 50 million Ghana cedis funding gap. And so they are not able to accommodate all the students in terms of the loans that they give. And so government must enhance the loan scheme so that the quantum is enough to be able to take the students through, but is also able to cover as many students who need that support as possible. And so those are some of the things we'll do for tertiary education. TOR is a shame and a disgrace to our country. This was a flagship project by President Nkrumah, and it was one of the first refineries to be built in Africa. Today, Tor is a pale shadow of itself. When I came, I did my best. I restarted Tor. They started refining products. Indeed, before I left office, our first shipment of crude from our own oil field was given to Tor to refine. And then we left office. The new administration came. That shipload of oil sat in the tanks for years. Eventually, they discounted it and sold it out. And Tor hasn't worked since then till now. All Tor is surviving on is the revenue it gets from the single buoy mooring facility that offloads petroleum products and their storage tanks. That's all. Aside from that, the refinery has not been working for almost more than 6 years of this government's administration. And so when I say we'll come and we'll revamp Tor, it's because it is an important industry for the growth of Tema. It's an important industry for the prosperity of Tema. And there are a lot of young people who can find jobs with a refinery that is working. And so we'll strategically work with any strategic partners who are available to revamp the refinery and even expand it. Tor has extra land to accommodate even another refinery. And so if we have people who are ready to invest with us, we would let them come on board. We will have a stake. They also will have a stake. And they will not only revamp Tor, but if they can even build an additional refinery to increase the capacity of Tor, it will be a good thing. It will provide employment, and it will also make the cost of our petroleum products more predictable. Because if we are refining the crude oil ourselves, we can lower the cost of petroleum products. But if we are importing from outside, we must accept whatever price we get on the international market. Fiber cuts. Yes, optic fiber got cut, and the internet was disrupted. We have several submarine cables that provide service to Ghana. We don't know exactly what happened, but there was an undersea cut that affected the cables. And so they've been repaired now, and so we can have connectivity. But luckily, technology is always progressing. And so the cost of satellite internet has come down. And due to Elon Musk and his Starlink and other such producers, you can buy a Starlink dish and get internet connectivity. And so it gives us a quantum leap to be able to send internet connectivity to places that we didn't dream of before. And so in our schools, in our government offices and other places, we can go and put these satellite dishes there and give them instant connectivity. And the rates are quite affordable. And so many private people have even started using satellite internet. And so the technology gives us more possibilities to create universal access in our country. We even have domestic fiber cuts. When they're doing road construction, they cut the fiber links. And so we also must be careful how we protect the fiber that we have. Let's see what else. I think we are done. Achimota Forest.
Achimota Forest and Airbus.
Yeah, Achimota Forest.
Yes, sir.
I mean, a lot of allegations were thrown against me. I've been out of office for 7 years and 7 months. You think that if this government had anything they could stand on with how they hate my persona, they would not have prosecuted me for it. Airbus, the president referred it to the OSP, and the OSP is supposed to investigate it. You don't expect me to investigate myself. And so, if they had something to stand on, I'll not be standing here today. The same thing, hotel in Dubai. I challenged them. I said, let's go and find that hotel. I myself am in need of money. We'll find it, we'll sell it. You give me my small share, and government can take the rest. Till today, $10 million for diaries. President Akuffo himself said it, that my government has spent $10 million to import diaries. They've been in office for 7.7 years. Where is the $10 million for diaries? And so I've challenged the MPP and the mudslinging and the lies they've told about me at every juncture to come up with proof of the allegations and prosecute me. I am an adherent of accountability. And I've said anybody who serves in public office should be prepared to be accountable. And that accountability must start with myself. And if they have any allegations that they could prove, they would have done so by now. It's just a political gimmick. When elections are coming, then they start raising all kinds of issues and all that kind of thing. But I remain focused. My commitment is to fight corruption. And if I come into office, I'll hold their administration to the high standard of accountability. And those who serve in my administration would also be measured by the same yardstick. Yes, thank you, sir. And then Achimota Forest and looting of state lands and others. I've said that no person who accepts to serve in my administration will be allowed to buy any state assets. When you finish serving and you go and you want to do whatever, it's your palaver. But as long as you're an appointee under my administration, buildings, lands, vehicles that belong to the state, you are not going to be allowed to buy or invest in any state asset. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency.